Hey everybody, and welcome back. Tonight we're here for some more Pauper, and well, given the penchant I've had for playing combo recently, let's play Storm. So, I knew I wanted to play some Pauper, and I wasn't really 100% sure what, so I started poking around at recent deck lists and things like that, and this came up. So specifically, this is Discover Ends challenge list from, I think, like 2 weeks ago. This is Pauper Storm. But Adam, all of the Storm win conditions are banned. Well, hear me out. Kessig Flamebreakers is a 2-mana 1/3 that deals a damage for each instant or sorcery you cast. So the game plan is, we have this deck that makes a bunch of mana, draws a bunch of cards, and eventually we do all of this with a Kessig Flamebreakers in play. But what if they kill your Flamebreakers? Well, we have more Flamebreakers. But what if they kill all your Flamebreakers? Enter Feldon's Cane. For anyone who didn't play Magic circa, I don't know, like 94, 96, that era, Feldon's Cane is a 1-mana artifact that you can tap and sacrifice Feldon's Cane, exile Feldon's Cane, and shuffle your graveyard into your deck. So the game plan being that you just then recycle your entire deck with Feldon's Cane, do the whole thing again, Partridge in a Pear Tree. Eventually your opponent dies because, well, they can't beat everything over and over and over again repetitively. Hooray for us. So, we now have Feldon's Cane to recycle our deck, which means eventually we just go ahead, do the thing. Hooray, we won the game. So, some other things worth mentioning here. Deadly Dispute, sacrificing things like Chromatic Star. This is going to... Star will not only filter our mana, should we need to fix our mana a little bit. Star will also just draw an extra card if we sacrifice it to Deadly Dispute, which means Deadly Dispute is just 2 mana, draw 3 cards. So that's pretty good. And it makes a treasure token. So we get a 1 mana discount. Rite of Flame, Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Lotus Petal, Manamorphose. This is our fast mana. This is what's going to let us jump out and ahead, alongside copies of Sandstone Needle. This is a land that taps for 2 red and has depletion counters. Once the depletion counters are gone, you sacrifice it. And Peat Bog. Same deal, black mana instead of red mana, like Sandstone Needle provides. So, finally, Night's Whisper, Deadly Dispute, Faithless Looting, Galvanic Relay. These are all just ways that we can go ahead and gain a little bit of card advantage, get some extra cards to keep things going. So that is Pauper Storm, and let's just start floundering now and see what happens. All right. So for anybody watching, I have had exactly zero reps on this deck. I just saw this deck in the Goldfish results lists, and I said, that seems sweet and busted and dumb, and I'm in. So tonight we're going to play some Pauper Storm, and we're just going to see how it goes. I'm going to openly admit right now, I'm probably going to play out some lines in ways that are maybe incorrect or a little unusual. I don't have any reps on this deck. Never played it before. So I'm going to be learning this in real time as you watch. So if I make plays that are strange, that's why. I don't know what I'm doing. We're just guessing. So everybody come along for the ride. So thank you everyone for joining me tonight. I really do appreciate you all being here. Plenty of ways you could choose to spend your Tuesdays, but I'm grateful that you've chosen to spend it with me. Hopefully you're all having a great week so far. Ooh, we have an opponent. Alright. So one thing I do think that's going to happen... Rite of Flame, Manamorphose. Yeah, this looks fine. So this is turn 1, Sandstone Needle, go. Needle, Rite of Flame, casting Flame Breakers, Manamorphose, make red black. Sure, okay. Okay. We're gonna keep. Alright, Tron. Opponent gives us the old good luck, have fun. They play turn 1 Urza's Tower, we play turn 1 Sandstone Needle. Alright, nerd, figure it out. Let's see, 9 days ago playing Ephemerate Tron specifically. Okay. Fingers crossed, I would really like to draw some sort of mana rock so that we can go ahead. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't matter. Oh, I think opponent's dead. Flame Breakers? Flame Breather. Read that wrong like a dozen times. Alright, opponent. What do you got to say about it? Nothing? Opponent, please. I want to resolve this idiot. Can we do the thing? Rite of Flame? Make black, make red. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Night's Whisper. Ooh, okay. I need 5 cards in graveyard. Okay. Trying to figure out if I have enough mana to go ahead and do the thing. Alright, I think we're just gonna ignore that we can't make Threshold right now and be okay with it. Cabal Ritual. Sphere. Deadly Dispute. Rite of Flame. Star. Crack for black to draw a card. Cabal Ritual. And we just fizzle? Okay. Okay. If I can cast any one non-creature spell, we have this game. That ain't it. Lens is fine. Please die. Ayo. Alright. I don't think I need Weather the Storm in this matchup. I think I want this series of Pyroblasts. What else do I... I need somebody who's smarter than me to tell me what 3 cards I'm cutting here. I can probably cut a Petal. Cut Feldon's Cane. And cut cut the Sphere specifically. That seems fine. Not great, but fine. So this is where opponent now has to play the game where they have to hold up interaction like the entire game. Not that they develop super quickly anyway. Hand seems slow, but I'm gonna keep it. This looting can do a lot of crazy things. I definitely have too many lands, but that's okay. Cast Faithless Looting. I'll discard Peat Bog. And Mountain? Signature. Vault of Whispers. Rite of Flame. Dark Ritual. Deadly Dispute. Star. Relay. Wow, that was atrocious. We hit 4 lands Manamorphose off of that. Impulse is fine. Okay. Play Swamp. Cast Manamorphose. Yuck. I was sure to draw this card. Rite of Flame. Star. Relay again. Oh, we have protection next turn. Let's go! We have protection, we have a Night's Whisper. Opponent impulses again, sure. Opponent cast Teachings. For weather, sure. Red Source. Dark Ritual. Cabal Ritual. Night's Whisper. Make red red. Cast Lotus Petal. Cast Manamorphose. Yuck. Night's Whisper again. Play Synthesizer. Night's Whisper. Cast Chromatic Star. Say go. Opponent's gonna gain approximately 1 billion life. Weather resolves. I don't think that that wins the game like you think it does, but it's good. I don't know why I didn't play the star from exile instead of the one from hand. That was bad. That was just poor sequencing. Correct this for black to draw a card. Ritual. Cabal Ritual. Deadly Dispute. Sack Synthesizer. Rite of Flame. Dispute. Sack Star. Can we not be doing this? Discard 2 Sandstone Needles. Dark Ritual. Deadly Dispute. Sacking Petal. We haven't hit the Feldon's Cane yet either. That seems important. Always yield the relay. Okay. The kill shouldn't be too hard from here. Would prefer you didn't. Oracle's fine. Did Oracle? Say Oracle can't whiff. Crop rotation, sure. That makes life a little harder, but still doable. Alright, let's party, opponent. Okay. Start with... How many disputes are gone? 2? 3? Okay. I think dispute's off the table, so the land shouldn't matter too much. I have all the mana I could ever want. Cast this. Rite of Flame. That sucks. Pedal. Pedal. Cabal Ritual kind of sucks right now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Synthesizer. Yo, excuse me? Oh, I cut the Feldon's cane. I'm so bad at this game. Playing it to Feldon's cane isn't out, and I totally cut it. Okay. So I think I would rather have Duress than Pyroblast, if I'm gonna be honest. Knowing that opponent has Weather. I want my cane back. I'm even gonna shave a relay, I think, and bring in another cane. This seems fine. We'll message opponent about that punt after this next game. But that was top shelf. I'm very good at this. Again, thank you everyone for joining. I appreciate you being here this evening, watching me flounder through this Pauper Storm League. How many? 1, 2, 3. We do have 4 disputes, okay. Maybe we cut that over a relay? like that idea better, to be honest. I think on the play, we're just well set up for this match. I would love to play first. This doesn't seem like it does it. This is greedy, but I'm gonna try it. This is Rite of Flame, Manamorphose, Make Red Black, Dark Ritual. The question is, what's next? Do I just relay to set up, or do I Night's Whisper and try to keep going? Four. I guess we see what we draw off Manamorphose. It's probably correct to see what we draw off Manamorphose first. We're gonna keep. Ship Dispute. Cast Lotus Petal. Opponent. Rite of Flame, Manamorphose, make black, make red. This is greedy. Okay. Wild. I think if I were opponent, I would have held that impulse. Deal.
We got a new song that kind of is self-titled song.
Pete Bog, go.
It says it best when it could be anything that you love.
And step teaching, sure.
It doesn't necessarily have to be best.
Teachings for Alchemy. Cast Alchemy. That's spooky. Mournwelk. Can we draw mana sources that aren't black, thanks? That would be excellent. Alchemy, Ardent Alchemist. Okay. So Controltron plays red cards now. That's interesting. I guess they've been like infinite colors for basically forever. Deal. We can play through that. Promise. Deck. I just need to draw a red source, then we're like golden. That would have been the perfect turn where they were just like tapped out of mana. Seagate Oracle. Here's the green, another green source for them. Doesn't do it. Still need a red source. Impulse, yep. Okay. Flashback teachings. Okay. Yikes. Yeah, we were turns and turns away. Alright, cool. Alright, well that was unfortunate. Yeah, like, looking at that again, if I wish that I had boarded in the Duresses in Game 2, not the Pyroblasts. Opponent having weather is big. And if I can duress and force them to weather first. Sandstone Needle. I'm on the draw. This hand isn't great, but it's not terrible. Oh, Blackburn. Sure. Sign in Blood themselves. Oh, it might just be mono black? Flame Breakers, go. Flame Breather, go. Okay, you got it. Deal. Alright. Rite of Flame. Flame Breather. Star. This is like sketch. Opponent sign in Bloods themselves. They're gonna do a lot of my work for me, which is kind of nice. Sign in Blood again. Deal. Deal, deal, deal. So happy about this right now. Less happy now that I can't draw lands, but hey. Opponent's at 12. Opponent cycles Barrenmore. Opponent, you're in mono black. Alms, sure. Piranha Marsh, yup. Okay. Pedal, yup. I could start churning through rocks here, but I don't think that's actively good. Sure. Oh, babe, yeah, let's go. Okay. Got it. Piranha Marsh is fine. I feel like I might, like, get corrupted or something at any random point. We go? Dark Ritual. Deadly Dispute. This thing. Okay. I, like, need more mana than I have, but... I have access to 2 mana. I think I want this. Flamebreaker. Kane. I don't need to cast a lot of spells to get lethal here. There's Crypt Rats. That's unfortunate. Okay. Losing double Flamebreaker there kind of hurts. Peat Bog. Alms. You get the last spell? Oh, flashback, okay. Yep. The weathers feel good here. I'm not particularly... Oh, Feldon's Cane seems good. I like Faithless Looting less in this matchup. And then what? Again, couldn't shave a Deadly Dispute because I think that Deadly Dispute is the least efficient of these. I think I'm just trying to race my opponent, just absolutely turbo them. When am I supposed to board this in? Can I have a real adult tell me what that's for? Keep. Bumped. Yep. Rite of Flame. Dark Ritual. Relay. Hit a swamp. Bunch of mana. This all seems okay. One Sign and Bloods themselves. That seems fine. Play Swamp. Dark Ritual. I want to put a 7th card in graveyard for Threshold. Alright, so we have 9 mana. That's both of these things easy. Petal. 7 mana. This is 5. This. Night's Whisper. Make green, make black. 4 mana, 5 mana. I have enough mana that I can play this sphere. Galvanic Relay. Weather. I'm at 46, opponent. Good luck, have fun. Okay. Yep, that seems about right. Okay. Changes. I don't think I need to make any changes on the draw. Alright. Greg, hello and welcome. Yeah, I'm in. Piranha Marsh is fine. Target player loses 2 life. You gain 2 life, crit. Yeah, that's fine. Madness, Alms of the Vein, sure. That spell does feel a little more efficient that way. What's going on, Greg? We are currently playing Pauper Storm. Gross. Okay. I wonder if I was... I feel like I was probably supposed to play Synthesizer that turn. The lack of mana on this hand is questionable. Yep. Sure. Synthesizer. Big yikes. I needed that to be a land really bad. I mean, I clearly cannot block. Opponent Madness is an Alms. Yep. Womp womp. That was very close. I needed another mana. I feel like I had the potential for a lot of draw steps to find it too. It's possible that what I was supposed to do instead of playing the Flame Breather is to crack Star for black, draw a card, Night's Whisper, draw 2 more, and just filter more through my deck. But like I said previously, I'm not super familiar with the lines here, so I will keep. Cast Looting. Oh. This card, Deadly Dispute. This card, Lotus Petal? Cool. Okay. This actually feels... Flame Breakers. Nope, I can't do... Okay. So this is Rite of Flame, cast Flame Breather, Vault Whispers, Lotus Petal. Black. Cabal Ritual. Night's Whisper. Okay, so this is Affinity. Gale Blast resolves. I will Night's Whisper to draw more cards. Mirror Enforcer, sure. Disciple, yep. Good grief. Okay. That's fine. That sucks, but it's fine. Guess I'm gonna make my land drop. Crack this for red. Oh, right. That's symmetrical. Rite of Flame. Relay. We should be dead here. Yep. Okay. Confirmed opponent knows how to stack their triggers. Cannonade seems good. Gorilla Shaman seems fine. I'm gonna cut a relay. Thinking. Wondering if I want Weather more than I even want Cannonade. Shave a Sphere. Can shave Feldon's Cane. Because I think that a decent sized Weather, my opponent will just concede. I'm gonna cut a couple of Disputes, I think, instead. This is Flame Breakers, Petal, or Flame Breather, Petal, Petal, Manamorphose, Manamorphose. Just absolutely go berserk. Better. It'll always yield to my Flame Breather. Red, black, black, red. Gas. Rate of Flame. Cast the Weather. Okay. Opponent, you're at 10, I'm at 51, go ahead. Star is fine. Disciple's fine. Got there. I will cast this. Galvanic Blast is fine. Synthesizer, sure. Deece. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yup. Mountain. Go. I still think we're very favored from this position. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. What? Okay, well. With another mana, this will be very good. It's true. That's how that works. Opponent also gets to do that thing. Sacrifice from its mana value, draw 2. Wild. Sure. I literally did not see this card when it came out, when it got spoiled. Gonna gain 1, you get an extra card. You're gonna, oh, Galv Blast. Yep, that seems good. Yep. It doesn't quite do the thing. That's very good. Taking 10. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice. Opponent's hand confirmed very good. Well done, opponent. Gross. No? I only get to draw 1? Thanks, Magic Online. Appreciate you. Well, woof. This has been supremely bad. Again, I kind of expected this to be pretty gross. I don't really know what I'm doing. And it turns out that in formats like Pauper, where they've intentionally tried to make decks like Storm not very good, when you play a deck like this, it is very difficult. Galvanic Relay is a very good Magic card, but having to rely on casting Flame Breather as a kill condition, not spectacular. But this deck seems sick. Like, I will be very interested in looking at more of this deck in the future. Travis, hello, welcome. Appreciate you joining. Alright, so let's see if we can turn this around and get our pity 50 play points back, and then take a look at this. I did see, so in this in Discover Ends list, they're playing the Cane instead of the 4th Flame Breather, I believe, which is interesting, but I get it, because you don't necessarily need like a bunch of Flame Breathers. You just need to have one around and go ham, and it's almost as likely that you just like run out of cards in your deck. So I don't hate it. I like the notion. I may end up playing more of this deck in my own time, because I'm very interested. And I would be curious to see if I can figure this deck out without going completely off the rails and watching 30 hours of other people play this deck. Which is something I also might do. But this seems really neat. We just need to find an opponent. So again, I appreciate everyone joining this evening. For those of you who are new here, hello, my name is Adam. I'm a member of Team Swish out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Tonight we are playing some Pauper Storm. Normally on this channel, you'll see me playing all sorts of various Eternal formats, usually Legacy, Vintage, Pauper, some Cube occasionally, whatever else strikes my fancy at the time. So obviously tonight we're playing Pauper. The current plan is Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll either be playing some Vintage or some Legacy, which are formats I've spent a lot more time in as of recent history. To be determined what we end up playing. Probably something dumb and busted, which is kind of everything in Vintage. In Legacy, I have several thoughts. The notion has been put forth to play Oops All Spells, to play Hogak. I will play first. This is... His hand's like just busted enough that it might do stuff. Lotus Petal, Rite of Flame, Manamorphose, Make Red Black, Dark Ritual, Flame Breakers, Night's Whisper. Lotus Petal. Boo and Boo? What do you mean? Oh, you mean for Legacy? Greg, I have every notion to play a bunch of unfair garbage in Legacy right now until such point as the format is in a state where I don't feel like the correct response to the format is to play unfair garbage. Rite of Flame, Manamorphose, Black, Red. Well, that's cool. Rite of Flame. Dark Ritual. Night's Whisper. Rite of Flame. Synthesizer. Sandstone Needle. Sacrifice this. Petal. Manamorphose. Make red, make black. Relay. Oh. Sick. Okay, so we have no idea what opponent is playing. Like, actual zero. So I think that the correct answer is to not sideboard at all, just resubmit and call it. Opponent typed in chat, Galvanic Relay ban when? And I'm like, I've never touched this deck before, but you're probably not wrong. But Greg, I really do think that the best ways you can be playing Legacy right now are to be playing the card Delver of Secrets or to be playing Degenerate Combo. And as I'm not particularly a huge fan of Delver of Secrets in the format anymore, I'm on the combo train. Oh, okay. So, like, did opponent just straight up, like, concede the entire match? Okay. Ish. I mean, I kind of agree with you. Alright. Pedal. Ritual. Ritual. Manamorphose. Make red. Dispute. This does not currently have threshold. I mean, that's fair. I miss a lot of things being good, Greg, to be honest with you. Rite of Flame. Alright, Rite of Flame is dead. What do I need here? Probably Synthesizer? Alright. God, that's so bad. It just got worse. I mean, Respect opponent to having their strong opinions, but I disagree with I disagree with your notion, opponent. I'm sorry. Opponent right now in chat is saying that quote-unquote fast mana, dredge, etc. aren't broken, but storm is, and it's okay that all the storm cards are banned in Pauper, but not okay that all of the fast mana cards should be illegal. Okay. I'll make red red. It will cast the card Faithless Looting. It will discard Peat Bog and Weather the Storm. It will cast Casting Flame Breather. Sure. I will cast Night's Whisper. Greg, I get what you're saying about Tarmogoyf, but I think the reality is that we have to now live in a world where, like, either stuff like Tarmogoyf is just going to get outclassed repetitively, or we're going to have to ban cards constantly. And I just don't think it's particularly helpful to sit here and constantly talk about banning cards. The Samurai cost me very little. Sure. Vote Mauldrifter, sure. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, I agree with you, Greg, and that's the thing, right? Is that, like, I think that you're talking about, I miss Goyf being good, and I think that just, like, the world that we exist in right now is one such that we don't get both. We don't get Tarmogoyf being good and all of the new stuff. Red, black... Relay, I guess? It will attack with both. Hey, this Lotus Petal and this Faithless Looting is options for me. Veteran, sure. Okay. Aqueduct to bounce, yep. Alright. I will cast the card Faithless Looting. I will flashback the card Faithless Looting.
Give me
My Feldon's cane is gone, so I have to win, like, reasonably quickly. How many flame breathers are gone? All of them? The weather's in my graveyard. I'm just gonna concede. This game isn't worth continuing to play. Alright, so with that being said, I'll take Pyroblast. I'll take Cane. Cut Weather that I don't need. Cut a Dispute. Shave a Petal. Cut Sphere. Looting, I guess? I really don't like Faithless Looting in this deck, and I get why it's here. Greg, so people tried a Landfall Zoo deck with that ridiculous red-green Landfall Elemental thing a while ago, and it was okay. Not excellent, but, like, okay. The thing is that, like, it's hard to play aggro in a world where Uro exists. And, like, even once you deal with a card like Uro, you still have things like Stoneforge Mystic and Batterskull, like the old standbys. And then, like, besides that, like, how do you deal with your opponent just, like, casting an Endurance? Or, like, reanimating a Grizzlebrand? Yikes. Ship Star. Peat Bog. So the thing is, Greg, that aggro has, like, historically been pretty okay against combo because you just clock them very quickly. Alright, so this is... Cabal Ritual. Play this. I mean, I get what you're saying, but that can't be the only thing we evaluate either, right? That's the thing, is we have to constantly evaluate all the stuff, right? Because at first, like when you consider a deck like Death and Taxes, right? Like D&T itself, the notion originally was the White Weenie aggro strat. And then that White Weenie aggro strat turned into something else. Raven Inspector's fine. Okay. I like desperately need a red source that I don't have, and I hate it. Alright. So is this Night's Whisper first? See if we can hit the red source, see if we can hit fast mana? I think so. He was in the water, appreciate the follow. Okay. Well, this is still not spectacular, but... Dark Ritual... Deadly Dispute... Oh, that makes the treasure I needed. Alright. Crack this for red, crack this for black. Make red, red. Draw more cards. Okay. Red, black. Petal. I mean, I can do this, but I know what opponent's going to do, so... Right. I think opponent's dead. Opponent confirmed dead. Opponent's ulting off currently because we drew a Pyroblast in our 97 cards that we drew. Okay. Yeah, side note, like, to touch on what opponent was talking about there, like, Galvanic Relay, very, very strong Magic card. I think the fundamental problem with what's going on right here, right now, and why people are so upset about it, is because Wizards tried so hard for so long to just absolutely destroy the Storm archetype in this format. Any reasonable Magic card with the word Storm on it just got banned. And everybody, if you played any kind of Storm style variant, it was janky and awkward and weird. And you had to jump through a lot of hoops to make it work. The thing is that Relay is the poster child for what the real problem. And that is the fact that Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Lotus Petal, Rite of Flame, Manamorphose, all of these cards are legal in this format. Why in the world, if you were trying so hard to crush the Storm archetype, is all of the fast mana still legal? I don't get it. Wizards took the exact opposite approach in Modern, where Wizards left the Storm cards alone and decided instead to go after cards like Rite of Flame, Seething Song, Chrome Mox. And that was the trade-off. Again, eventually we saw cards like Mox Opal and Simian Spirit Guide get banned under a similar guise. And like that, I get it. What? No, mind you, someone who has played a copious amount of Lotus Petal in this format. Big fan. Big fan of Lotus Petal and Pauper. But I'm a big fan because it's busted. Because Lotus Petal is a card that shouldn't exist in this format. And for some reason it does. But Greg, touching more on what you were talking about specifically, I think that the problem we have right now is that we've entered a stage where everyone's finally coming to a point where we've got the new normal, right? The new normal is this world of Uro and Dragon Rage Channeler and things of that nature. And so now what we need to figure out is how every other subset of cards functions in this new world without, one, immediately going into an Uro pile or a Dragon Rage Channeler Delver style pile, but also without being completely and totally broken to the point of needing a ban. And that's it's a really fine line. Like, do we need a 1 mana vanilla 4/4? Is that where we're at? Keep. This is really close. Opponent last seen playing blue-black control. It doesn't scream blue-black control, but I'm in. This looks like just another Affinity matchup. Rite of Flame. Jeskai Wildfire Ephemerate? I mean, I believe you. That's reasonable enough. I mean, I guess, yeah, two blue artifact lands makes sense. Sure, I buy this. This is also where I'm going to get max punished if opponent just decides to turn a Wildfire on my Sandstone Needle, but we came to party. So party we shall.
What's up, Hanford?
Okay. They are just going to ramp themselves. I'm into that life. Oh. Cabal Ritual first, please. Draw cards first. Cast Synthesizer. What in the world? Anamorphose. Black, red. Make black, make red. Okay. Draw every Manamorphose, I understand. Make black, make red. Cabal Ritual. Night's Whisper. Deadly Dispute. Cool. Alright, so Jessica Ephemerate. I'm looking at what? Red spell, red removal, counter spells. So Duress is probably better than Pyroblast. Weather can probably go. So, and that's the thing, right, is that I, like, with the counterspells, I think possibly, but given that opponent can also have things like, yeah, so I'm like, that's fine. Counterspell, Dispel is the main plan is, like, not what I'm worried about. It's, are they going to have a bunch of bolts to remove my flame breathers? Are they going to have, like, a circle of protection? Because, like, Duress is my only out to that. Straight up. Just like that's it. We don't beat that in any other way. Greg, fair enough. You have a good night, man. We'll be playing something ridiculous to get with Stoneforge again shortly. Alright. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I think I just want to be playing Duress. I'm gonna cut Sphere. Looting. What are my 3 Duresses? Is this the matchup where I want the card Mountain? Like, because they have the main deck land destruction, is this the matchup where I want the card Basic Mountain out of my sideboard? I'm gonna guess no and then evaluate later. I mean, and he is in the water, like, you could be totally right. I 100% agree that, like, there's a chance they do not, absolutely don't play the card Circle of Protection red. But I think that we have the ability to board in such a fashion that we can deal with it. And play Pete Bog and pass. Wildfire, okay. Triple Cabal Ritual was not the life we were looking to live, but, like, I guess. Opponent not showing us a whole lot of respect by just slamming this thing. Cabal Ritual. Cabal Ritual. Metal. Take the relay here. Dark Ritual, Night's Whisper. Yep, okay. Got it. Sure. Vault of Whispers. Dark Ritual. It was already an exile opponent. Cabal Ritual. I was supposed to make black there to fire off this Cabal Ritual before this thing dies, but that's okay. Night's Whisper. Manamorphose. Red. Just fishing for Flamebreaker here that I'm probably not going to hit. Opponent boarded in a ton of artifact hate against us that I don't think is particularly good, but it's fine, I suppose. Alright. Wall Drifter's fine. You got it, friend. Okay. Opponent tapped out of the mana to activate Gorilla Shaman, so now I get to do all my stuff with Reckless Abandon. I'm into this life. Alright. Play the Swamp from here. Pedal. Star. Rite of Flame. Draw a bunch of cards. Okay. Got there. Ritual. Ritual. Dress you. Nice. Draw a bunch more cards. Synthesizer. Synthesizer. Cast this relay. Flame breather, flame breather. That's hilarious and silly. The last flame breather is literally in like the last 3 cards of my deck. Not that we don't get there, but okay. Alright, opponent has conceded. So, he was in the water, to kind of quantify that point more. Thank you. So, I don't ever necessarily expect that my opponent is going to board in, say, an exact fashion, right? So, for example, opponent was playing the Jeskai Wildfire stack, and it is reasonable that most players have a specific game plan, say, against Burn, or something like that. But all it takes is one player who's lost to Burn, like, 30 times because of RNG, and then all of a sudden, their sideboard is like 3 Cop Red and 4 Hydroblast. Like, it is one of those situations where I would rather, given that I had the ability to board in Duress over Pyro, and given the presence of Feldon's Cane plus Duress, plus the existence of Galvanic Relay as a magic card, says that enough of the time we can probably beat a counterspell or two, whereas something like a COP Red or like a Weather the Storm or something is much harder. So I would rather board in the card that is better in more spots than go, okay, opponent's gonna have Red Blast or Blue Blast or whatever, and because that's the other thing, like, opponent could perceivably have Blue Blast and just Blue Blast Flamebreaker or Flame Breather, and it's like, cool, I guess. So, yeah, to go back to kind of the initial, so this is the list we played. This was Discover N's first place challenge list. So Discover N, importantly, was playing 3 Flame Breathers and 1 main Feldon's Cane, as opposed to a full 4. Overall, like, this is super reasonable. Like, when I say reasonable, this deck is broken and stupid. But I think this list is really reasonable. I really liked Feldon's Cane. There were a lot of times where I wish I had an additional Cane. I hate Faithless Looting in the deck. I understand that you kind of have to play it, but I hate it. I wish that there was an opportunity to play basically anything else. Like, part of me wants to try to turn Faithless Looting into, like, Reckless Impulse or something, because I just don't like the card Faithless Looting when we don't have a ton of useful ways to interface with the graveyard, and we just want to race people most of the time. But, I get why Faithless Looting is there. It being 1 mana is big, having utility later is big. I just, yeah, not a big fan personally. I don't know why there is a mount in the sideboard. Discoverin is a very good Magic player. This is why I stole their list. Specifically, they are a very, very, very good Magic player. I don't know why this mountain is there. If anybody has any idea what this mountain is supposed to be for, please yell at me somewhere. Twitter, Discord, whatever. Somebody explain to me why this mountain exists. I don't get it. Furthermore, Gorilla Shaman, I don't know. I think that I would rather be playing... I don't even know what I want. The Gorilla Shaman just feels underwhelming. As a general rule, I don't like the card Gorilla Shaman as much as I used to, because a lot of the decks that are playing high artifact counts now, like Affinity, like the Wildfires deck, a lot of them are just indestructible lands. Gorilla Shaman used to be excellent because it could just randomly nuke Affinity's lands all over the place, and they were sad, and you just kind of got to do whatever. That's no longer the case. So I don't know that I'm in love with Gorilla Shaman as our primary way to hate out stuff like that. Flaring Pain is hilarious. That is a card that I should have boarded in, given that Cop Red was on my mind, but I didn't think about it. Yeah, this is great against the Green Tron decks. This is great against Prismatic Strands. This is great against all sorts of garbage. Flaring Pain's hilarious. I boarded in Cannonade against Affinity. I got to clear out, like, a Disciple or whatever and attack for damage, and that was fine. Like, it's there to nuke a bunch of little dorks, and that's cool. It'll do that alright. And it doesn't kill our win conditions, which is great. So, yeah, kind of neat. But alright, everybody, that is it for me for the evening. Again, I will be back on Thursday. Again, still TBD. Might be Legacy, might be Vintage. Stay tuned on Twitter for details. Once I make up my mind, I'll post there. Maybe I don't make up my mind. Maybe I just randomly show up on Thursday and go, this one. There's only one way for you to find out. Thanks again, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Cheers.